Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to Versus Stars podcast, third season. How are my loyal listeners? Thank you for your continued support. And remember, click the subscribe button, everybody. This is an amazing episode because Declan Shalvey boards the mothership. He's the writer of Thundercats from Dynamite Entertainment. Now come on board as we go traversing the stars. Hi, Mr. Shalvey. Thank you so much for coming to Versus Stars podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm loving all the stars.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my traversing the stars pun. I
It
gotta
works.
live
I
up
can
to
I
it.
can just about see my country. Yeah, you're just hiding. You're hiding Ireland behind you, but it's fine.
Oh, so people can
There it
shout out
is.
to
There it is.
Ireland.
Well, the north. The north. It's not, well, that's a whole thing. Never mind.
So I always start off with a question of inspiration. So what inspired your love of comics and who your earliest influences?
Oh, well, earliest influences would be, I guess, Jim Lee's right up there, Andy Kubert, Mark Bagley, Alan Davis, a lot of like the big, the big guys who were doing the all the cool books when I was a kid. Um, I would say like, people like John Romita Jr., Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli. I mean, I'm very basic. Exactly the same. Everybody else of my generation, their inspirations. And what got me into comics was the first bit. Um, it was just the imagery, I guess. Growing up in Ireland, there was a lot of like 80s stuff we would get, a lot of 90s stuff. Um, but the sheer kind of adrenaline that came with a lot of the American work was just
Hmm.
like nothing I'd really seen before. And I always liked comics. I was like read like whatever newsagent stuff that would be around here, like DuckTales, and I was able to read Asterix in the local library. So I always was just drawn to the imagery, but I do know it really ramped up once like I was aware of like how to get like American comics that changed everything.
So did you do it through subscription? Did you do it through online purchase? How did you get to find the American comics?
No, I mean it was before the internet really, this was 94, I guess, maybe 93. I was lucky enough, I think I was there's a kind of a seaside town here called La Hinch, and I was in a newsagent's and I saw an issue of X-Force from it was an American. I could tell it was American, so I ran to my mum to get money for it, and she gave me the money, and then I went back, it was gone, and I was like, no. So my mum was very good. She took me into like a local newsagent's and saw about like getting a copy of X-Men, whatever it was.
Hmm.
And the newsagent did, which is great. In fairness, they didn't really understand the direct market or anything, but they were able to buy X-Men. So I was getting X-Men, but I didn't realize there was like more than one X-Men comic. I was like, what's Uncanny X-Men? Like I was slowly learning how it worked, and I remember Age of Apocalypse happened not too long afterwards, and the newsagent couldn't get the comic anymore because it wasn't called X-Men, it was called Astonishing X-Men. But in the comic they killed Xavier, so I thought that was it. I thought there was no more X-Men comics for a while. So I was slowly learning more and more as you go. This was pre-internet, so I discovered Wizard magazine, stuff like that. It was harder to get over here, but there would be some like there was a comic shop in Dublin. I'd go there and I'd buy get as much stuff as my mum would let me, and you'd slowly piece together the universe and how this stuff works.
Hmm.
When you're that age, you're not able to look up Wikipedia. You just have to kind of like have a real palpably strong like desire to learn everything and know more. And I can't remember last time I felt so passionate about something.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting. We'll get to it a little bit more. You're the writer of Thundercats from Dynamite Entertainment. Now, was Thundercats in Ireland when growing up? Like, was that something that you had access to, the original cartoon?
Yeah, I mean, you had more chance of having access to something that was on TV, but the thing is with us, we wouldn't really know. I can't remember when I saw it because we wouldn't get stuff necessarily as it was coming out. And I've noticed as well with a lot of kind of like 80s up properties, there's some that I was into because I was just the right age. Like say G.I. Joe is something that completely went over my head because I was just a little bit too young, I think.
Hmm.
Anybody a year older than me, massive G.I. Joe fan. But when you're a kid, there's huge differences. Like
Yeah.
there's a big difference between like a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old. Um, but no, I do remember. Yeah, it was. I mean, I was a huge Turtles fan, Transformers, He-Man, but like Thundercats, I mean, it's just hard to not be dazzled by that intro. I distinctly remember seeing it for the first time.
Hmm.
Um, the episodes themselves a little shadier in my mind. I didn't
Yeah.
remember all the specifics, but I mean I had a Lino, I had a Mumra, like, and I played with them long before. Like I think I lost the Mumra's crown.
Hmm.
So for a while I started thinking he was bald because the toy was bald. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, yeah, we did get Thundercats, and yeah, I loved it.
Now, as someone who's writing the comic book for Thundercats,
Mhm.
is this a continuation? Is this a reboot?
It's a reboot. It's a reboot that is heavily drawn from the original cartoon. I know there was a big reboot in 2011 with another animated series, and I've heard it's brilliant. But I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it because I kind of want to keep myself. I want to come up with new things if I can. If it turns out that it's exactly the same stuff from the from the reboot, then I'll look like a fool. But no, I mean, going back over it, like, sorry to break it to people, but some of it's very weird. I went back and I watched the first episodes, and some stuff just didn't really connect for me. So what I'm trying to do with this is like it's a light reboot in that the characters are exactly who they are. There might be some different origins and things like that, but like I'm trying to streamline it into a very nice tight narrative. Whereas, each issue will have its own adventures, but like I'm trying to basically create a kind of a more streamlined mythology, um, and tell more kind of character driven stories.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I would say it's like the original series, but like tweaked 25%, if that makes sense.
So I mean, as anyone who's remembered the cartoon, and I will say I'm old enough that I do have the DVD seasons in my house, so I have like
Right.
to watch them. Um, how do you look at something from the 80s, which again was done for kids? There's some aspect to that I think it was actually kind of scary for the agitation they were going for. Some of the Mum Rossies were like, seriously, for 6-year-olds. But at the same time, though, you're looking at the 2023, 24 now audience. How do you are you balancing? Like, are you shooting for the age group that Thundercats originally was going for? Are you looking for an older, the retro audience that's looking back at Thundercats? How did you approach it?
A little bit of both, really. Like I wouldn't say it's like aimed at kids, but it's aimed for a new audience. Well, aimed. Like there's definitely going to be old school fans who are going to want to read it. My approach was a new story for a new audience, but like, but keeping the fans. Like, if you know the cartoon, then this story should feel true. Again, there might be some specifics that are changed. I think if you look at what Drew Moss's designs for the characters, you can see it's 80% the original. But then if you like, the most drastic thing is Tigra has a bit of a tash now, and I think that's a good sign of like you know, it's all there in the character, but little tweaks. So I wanted it to be because it's funny because I talk to anybody younger than me, and I mention Thundercats, and they're like, "What?" So there's no point just trying to make something for the older audience. I want to try and make something that like if you like I don't know, if you like any kind of just, heroic superhero stories, then, this is something you'll enjoy. And if you love the characters and you want to see what's up, then you're totally going to be. I'm making it for both. I would say it's a fair question because the cartoon was aimed very young.
Hmm.
I would say we're talking teens, like there's nothing, it's not like dark take on, the characters or anything. I would say it's maybe a little moodier. Well, actually, that's not fair because the original, when I went back and looked at the cartoon, like my thing was like, I'm going to do a sci-fi take on this. And I went back and I looked at the episodes. I'm like, it is already very sci-fi. I would say it's less fantasy than than Thundercats. I'm taking more of I think I've said like a Lost in Space approach, where we meet the characters after they've crashed on Third Earth and they're basically trying to figure out what they're going to do. I think looking back at the early episodes, I felt like it just kind of it just kind of goes, and I feel like there was more interesting stuff there. Like, what would they do? What are they going to do with the technology? How are they going to try and leave again? Well, like, I felt there was more there, so that's kind of where I'm going with it. But yeah, sorry to answer your question. I'm trying to aim at like not very young, but younger superhero fans, sci-fi fans, and like the old established audience who know and love the characters.
So like no beheadings, things like that.
Oh yeah, loads of those. I mean, of course. No, there's no. I mean, there's. I mean, I'm trying to remember, like, the action sequences. I mean, I'd say the worst thing that'll happen would be, some blood or something, but nothing. Um, no, I'm definitely trying to have a bit more of a, not. I wouldn't say no. All ages wouldn't be because it's definitely, there's threat and there's danger. I guess you forget when you're a kid, you loved all that stuff too. But I would say I would be like, yeah, teens would be where I'd be aiming it at. Teens and above. But I also love my action and I love my violence too. So I know I think it's appropriate. Like I'm writing Alien and there's a lot of stuff in there. We'll put it this way, different approach to this book than what I've been doing on Alien.
I can't help but think but that the most difficult character to write in Thundercats is Lino, because he's basically a 10-year-old in a adult's body. Now, how do you balance out the fact that psychologically he's going to be young, but at the same time being an adult, it may look funny if he's playing with like trains. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you make it? How do you make that work? And the fact that he's also the hero heroic, but at the same time, once again, you can't have him crying if something falls off he spills his drink or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Wily Cat and Wily Kid are the same age as what he was when he went in, and they're not, they were never, yeah, crying in their soup or whatever. So there's no really, I don't really think there's a problem there, like he's definitely heroic. That's not going to be a problem, I think. But it is definitely, I mean, that's actually one of the appeals of writing this is, it's a little bit of Shazam. Actually, the cool thing about the idea is it's a little bit Lost in Space. It's a little bit Shazam. It's a little bit Superman. Um, but uh, a lot of it will be down to him trying to figure out how to be a leader, um, dealing with responsibility, wanting to be a hero, but realizing it's not that easy.
Hmm.
You know, the choices he makes have repercussions, clashes with. I mean, you see in the book, Panthro is very hard line with him because he's an established, warrior, tactician. He's, basically trying to tell Lionel what to do, and Lionel wants to find his own path, but also respects Panther. So that was actually what the interesting thing for me is it's kind of told through Lionel more in that all the relationships around him have changed. All the other Thundercats are the same. They were who they were, but he's changed and his relationships have changed with everybody. So he's not a kid anymore. So he's not playing with Wily Cat and Wily Kid and Panthro, or sorry, Tigra was kind of like a mentor to him, but he's not anymore because now he's the same age. So Tiger feels a little bit left. Like so, those were the interesting things to me. Of course, there's the action and everything else, but it's the dynamics that changed for Lino from being a kid to now he's not anymore, and he has to figure out his way in the world. That's kind of that was what interested me the most.
Now, very important question. When you're writing for Lino, do you hear Larry Kenny's voice in your head?
You have to,
Into the
you know. Yeah.
dialogue.
Well, that was a tough one because like I was thinking, because it's very like, Panthro, why do
Right.
it's like it's in your voice, but like I didn't want it to be, I also didn't want to like rewrite it so it's all like, you know, sup bro, and they're all talking in modern parlance. I'm trying to find like a nice healthy balance between kind of writing in this slightly thespian way that
Hmm.
doesn't kind of be, you don't want to be very dry. It could be a very dry reading experience as opposed to like, that voice carries so well. So that's not difficult, but that's definitely a challenge to try and channel that without it be sounding too dry on the page. But yeah, I can't help. How could you not?
Now, I mean, how much are you exploring the world of Third Earth? I mean, obviously, there's like the creepy bears where in the original show, stuff like that. I mean, how deep are you diving into some of these side characters that were really became part of what made that show special?
I would say not too much because I'm really trying to concentrate on the group and the dynamics and the dangers um and certain elements of the mythology that will be different to what's in the comic. Something that I'm trying to do myself. Like I'm trying to tell the first year of them adjusting to the planet. So there will be some stuff and some like because that's the worry is I know a lot of people want to see the stuff that they know, and I don't really want to do that because I think it's fun originally, but then it gets very pandery and not interesting. So I'm trying to do new things with it, but also have little, like if you know all the stuff, you'll recognize little bits here and there. But I think it's going to be very uninteresting to just try and retell stories from the cartoon in the comic. I don't think I as a I don't think that's compelling. I think it can be very it can be satisfying in the short term, but not in the long term. So I'm trying to strike a balance of, new stuff and little nods to other things. I would say, I mean, if Dynamite keep me past the first year, then I think I'd like to delve into that stuff more. But I feel like the first year, I'm trying to tell a big climactic story, about these big characters and their mission and their relationships. And then I think there'll be way more room to kind of go there. But I'm trying to be very specific about the first year and making us care about the characters more than say, specific cameos here and there.
Well, as I mentioned about Dynamite, is that some of the stuff that we've seen recently with some of their licensed product, such as Darkwing Duck, such as the Gargoyles, they only usually are keeping the series going for about 10 to 12 issues before they're stopping or they're rebooting. And so, not rebooting, but kind of transforming them into something else. How many issues are we definitely looking at with your Thundercats?
Like so definitely 15. Like
15.
I'm signed on for not signed on for I didn't like do a blood oath or anything, but the story I have planned is over a year. Um, so that's I which to be honest is actually pretty damn good. Like for most comics, you don't even know if you're going to get 5 issues. Never
Hmm.
mind, more than that. So that's what I'm actually really excited about because you can do a series and you have to wrap it up in 5 issues. There's not a lot you can kind of dig into, but with knowing I have way more, like I know the book is ongoing, so the difference is whether or not I get to, they'll keep me on, or what have you. But I mean, I think with the book, I saw the news that like the orders are crazy, crazy high for the first issue. So I mean, as long as if the book does that well in the long term, I'd say this will keep going. Like, I mean, there's so much room.
Hmm.
There's so much room for stories. Like, I don't see the need to reboot it after a few issues. I think this could really be a book that just goes on and keeps going. But I'm excited about having like more than a year's of stories to tell. That's from a creative point of view, that's actually really exciting because it's not you don't get to do it a lot. I can seed things that'll come into play later that'll be more satisfying than rather having to like some stories you started and then you just have to wrap it up. So I'm glad I don't have to do that. Like so I'm planning like arcs and some kind of like more one-shot adventures to happen through the series. So yeah, it's really cool to have that much um room to play with.
Now, the Thundercats homeworld, memory is hopefully is my friend Thundera, I believe it was called, is the original
Hmm.
homeworld. Are we gonna get a little more exploration of what that was like before they came?
Yes.
Okay,
I try. I don't
oh,
want to spill of yes, there definitely be. I mean, I would say not at the beginning, but I definitely have like a plan to kind of go, you know, call back to before their crash on the planet. Where we start is basically right when they crashed. But there's going to be a way where we can kind of look back at the past a bit. Time travel was definitely a part of the show, so. Um, I think it would be, especially what happens to Lino too. So there's definitely an area there I'll play with, and Thundera is attached to that.
now, one great thing about this series is that I mean we're gonna get to aliens in a second, but I want to hit on thing because once again 80s kid, so Thundercats were kind of part of my thing. Is that the cool thing is that you are not only a writer but you're an artist. Now, Thundercats, the cartoon, has some amazing visuals. With the Eye of Thundera, and that whole thing, Thundercats Ho, and then you have Mum Ra stuff. How do you transfer those cool visuals from the cartoon, which is moving and has how they can do all that, and make it work just as cool in the comics?
I mean, I would like to think one of my strengths as a writer is knowing, you know, was I talking to? No, I'm not sure. I was talking to Drew a while ago, but like, uh, I know it's a good sign when I'm writing stuff, and like I have this urge where I'm like, oh, that'll be cool to draw. Happens some now and then. You're like, sometimes you're like, oh, I wish I was drawing this, but then I'd have to draw all the hard stuff. So, to hell with that. No, I mean, look, with something like, I will say the first issue, I really wanted to deliver on all the cool stuff you want to see. So there is definitely, I mean, the preview page is around, so it's not a spoiler to say like there's definitely the whole moment with the single, there's a page where he just says thunder, thunder, thunder. And because I remember when I was writing it, I didn't want it to just be like three panels where he does it. I'm like, no, 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 no. Everybody's waiting for him to do this. I'm giving this three panels where he swipes it, thunder, swipes it again, thunder, swipes because we all know what's happening here, and you want to give it the room. It's not going to be three panels on a six-panel page. I want this to be the build up, and then in the next page, so that's. I feel like I have a good instinct for that. Like even the first two pages are basically a big spread of the seeing all the Thundercats in like spacesuits. I think I have a fairly good sense of like what would be a cool visual moment. Um, and it seems to be the case that Drew agrees because like he's told me there's like good few bits he's really into drawing, and those are the bits I felt like, yeah, I think he's gonna like that. Also, I asked him like what he's interested in doing. So there's a few things that'll happen in the story that are leaning more to like things that he wanted to do, like yeah, like in the first issue in this yeah, don't want to say more, but so I think I have fairly good instincts for what's going to be cool moment. And again, this is Thundercats. You need look, every comic, honestly, every comic needs its cool moment.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's an action scene, sometimes it's an emotional moment, sometimes it's environmental. It's just not having a sense of what's going to hit. And I feel like I've connected with it visually, and because also I'm doing covers as well, so I get to like the first cover I drew the Sight Beyond Sight because how could I not? You know, like you're getting to do Thundercats issue one, you're getting to do cover. What are you going to do? Now, I could have done a team shot, but I'm like, no, I want that visual. It's one of the strongest visuals from the show, so you need that in there. So I get to kind of have my cake and eat it too by getting to draw a cool thing every month, and Drew has to do all the hard work.
Well, if memory serves, the first issue has already pre-ordered for I think 100,000 copies. I think was the number that I heard. Which in the world of comics
Yeah,
now, 100,000 is one of the top sellers probably of the month, I would imagine. If not, at least in the very least the top three, depending on what other events are going on. But 100,000 is basically your top Marvel or DC event comic book level sales nowadays.
yeah, it's
Uh,
bonkers. I mean, especially for a book I'm writing. Like
right,
I've done,
right.
I've done plenty of Marvel DC stuff as an artist. So to write something that's hitting those numbers is crazy.
Now, how does that help your ego? Like, are you like starting around now, like the Marvel office, like, I'm gonna write your better books now because I just sold 100,000 copies of Thundercats.
I would like that to be the case, but I don't think. Look, I would love to say this book is selling crazy because of me, but I think the two things that are selling this book is the name Thunder and Cats. You know, so I don't think there's that many people going like Declan Shalvey, he's gonna go do this. And also no one even saw Drew's work. So I think what was cool was right after they announced the sales numbers, Drew's pages started hitting the internet, and like I think that was cool because there was excitement for the sales, and then the art really hit it. So it's over just over the weekend. I think everything's changed. Because me and Drew were like having a good time, and then all of a sudden, but it felt also that it was a secret because nobody saw anything he was doing yet, um, other than the designs. So no, it's really cool. I have no idea. I do plenty of Marvel stuff anyway. So it's not like I'm stuck for work, but. I do like what we did with Alien, having a take on a book.
Hmm.
I do like that, and I like the idea of being somebody who kind of takes the lead on a series and can develop something. So if I got handed I don't know, Avengers or something, what would I have it to? That stuff would be fun. I like the idea of that. I like writing and drawing and getting to kind of build visual elements and things like that. So it's actually very fun to do. So I wouldn't lie, it would be cool to do more stuff like that at Marvel, but also I just got to do it at Marvel with Alien, so that was a great experience. Um, but yeah, I don't think I can take credit for this. Don't tell anybody, right? No one's going to hear this, right? This is a private
Oh, of
conversation.
course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's just me and you. So any spoilers you want to give away, just remember.
But okay, well,
Private
another thing that
conversation
happens is,
intermediate.
yeah, but no, it's really, really cool. I can't lie. It's definitely an ego boost to a degree, but I'm also very aware that it's not my name selling the book necessarily, but it is really cool to do a book. I mean, hopefully there'll be way more people who will read Thundercats and might even find all the work I've done before. That's as somebody who does a lot of creator-owned stuff too, that's actually pretty important. Like, that's always, you got to remember that is like, well, maybe if even 10% of those people have never heard of me before, they might go and buy the book, my solo book and things like that. So it all definitely helps. I really wish I could just own it though, ego wise. Just start, walking around the town and pushing things over, going, so I'm doing Thundercats, and then walk away and people go, what the hell
You
is he
know,
talking about?
there's nothing wrong with just owning it. Your name's on the book. It's sort of like a coach in like football or
Hmm.
basketball. When your team wins, you get the credit. So I'm just saying, you feel free to take as much credit from this as you wish.
Yeah, maybe by the time the book comes out, I'll become a complete egotistical monster, more so than I already am. Yeah, I'll be insufferable by the time, like, well, February, it's only a month away, so in 1 month I'll be insufferable.
Well, thank you. Think I got you on the show now before your ego got too big for me.
Oh yeah, it's never gonna happen. Like my head will take up too much of the screen next time.
Well, speaking of spoilers, so the thing with Thundercats, is a property that has been getting a lot of attention recently. There's been, I think, even some talk of movies being made. It's a licensed property. Was there anything that you were told you can't do by the licensing company that's because of what their plans are for the future for the property?
Nope. No, I've gotten nothing. There was only one thing where they pushed back on a little bit, and it was I can't say because it's a story thing I don't want to give away, but it really wasn't that big a deal. Like it was basically a character design. I suggested something, and they just basically asked me to push it back a bit. It wasn't even like you can't do that.
Hmm.
It was just they pushed back a little bit, so there was a happy compromise. That's the most that is the strongest note we've gotten back. They've been very cool. Yeah, story. They've been very, very open. I wasn't. They even seem excited about like like I said. There's stuff that you know from the show, but there's also new stuff that I wanted to put in there, and I thought maybe that might be a thing. But no, everything they've been really, really open. So that's been cool actually. To not have to worry too much about somebody breathing over your neck saying no, you can't do that. That's always a problem, like a danger with licensed stuff. But no, it's actually been really like refreshingly open.
So, for those of us who are not smart enough to pre-order their copy of Thundercats, when will the issue actually come out so we can buy it and hope to God there's a copy for us?
Well, today is the last. So if you're been too stupid to do until now, no, I'm just kidding. Well, today or this will probably be out tomorrow, will it? Or yes, okay, so it's too late. You're done. You missed your shot. Um, I think it is February. Yeah, 7th is the Friday, is the Wednesday. Yeah, February 7th. So very soon. Sure, with it actually one, two. Yeah, it's only like 3 weeks away. Bloody
Oh,
hell!
wow. Okay. So make sure
Yikes!
people get their copies. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Traversing Stars podcast. Please help me battle the algorithms by liking and subscribing. Be sure to return for the second installment of this episode when Declan Shalvey discusses his series Alien from Marvel Comics. Until next voyage, travel on.